when Don came here, they paid him $6,000 plus we had our room and board at the dorm, but we had certain duties we had to do at the dorm too, like be there and stand guard and make sure that everyone behaved. But that's what we lived on. But it was real funny. It seemed like I had more money left over at the end of the month than I had ever had. When we pulled up to Miners Hall, and that's where we lived, in Miners Hall, with the athletes for 2 years. We were the dorm parents. And we had our 4 little boys of our own. When we pulled up, Nolan Richardson, who was on the TWC team at that time, was standing there waiting for us. And I believe he helped us move in. So that's the kind of guys we had. We had janitors wax the floors, and the gardeners took care of the yard outside of the big building. And so it was really a nice situation. We enjoyed it. I did. I didn't really want to leave it. I loved it. The first year, I remember we won 18 games, and I've forgotten how many we lost, but it wasn't a great deal. It was, I think the year before they had gone 12-12 or something like that in their record. So it was a successful turnaround the first year, and then it just got better. So there we were in the final, and I thought, well, this is wonderful. We had a good crowd from El Paso, but the majority of the people were from Kentucky. So it was not hostile, but it wasn't the warm feeling you'd like to have. When we played the championship game against Kentucky, and we had all the black players, no white players were in there. I don't know if Don discussed it with the team or not, but I certainly didn't know or think about it. They were just our players. They were our guys. They were wonderful young men. So, and Don looked at it that way too. I think the movie made a kind of a big deal about it, but I don't think that he sat down and thought about it that much. He just wanted to play his best guys, and that's what he did. They brought us back on a Sunday morning, and when we approached El Paso, our pilot, we had little TV sets, monitors right by our seats, and this was a long time ago. And he said, we're approaching El Paso, I'm going to circle the airport so everyone can see our plane. And we could see this huge crowd down there on our little television monitors. And I think we all started crying. It was pretty emotional. And when we got out of the plane, there was a little stand, and Don and the players all said something, and there was just huge cheering, and it was wonderful. And then they had a parade for them through the city on a Sunday morning. Within months after they won the national championship, well, he started getting a lot of hate mail, and that he had exploited the black kids. And it was really sad. In fact, he even went so far as to say one time, and I think he's been quoted, that he wished that we had come in second, and there wouldn't have been any attention to us then. He was extremely unhappy and sad and depressed about it. They just took a lot of the joy away from our wonderful victory. He was kind of complex. I think he was funny, and he was harsh on the players at times, but I think they understood why. He puts out his gruff personality right away, even though he's very, very sweet and nice, but he can let you know that he's boss right away. He earned his nickname of the Bear by his reaction to calls and that sort of thing. Someone started saying, well, he looks like a bear. If the kids weren't playing right, he would get on them pretty good. But it must have worked. as long as they worked for him, well, he was doing everything he could for them too. I was very proud of Don. I thought he was an extremely influential person and a good teacher and a good person. He had the biggest heart in the world. And I don't know if people realize how much he did real quietly for families, and especially at Christmas, getting groceries and presents for their family and stuff that he didn't even know, but he knew that they needed help, and that's the kind of person he was. So that offset his gruffness. He was really like a, well, like I'd say, he's kind of really like a teddy bear. He received thanks and praise from the townspeople, and I know he was grateful for it.
Hey, all of you, let's make the shot down there.
The reason he went into basketball coaching in the first place was because he was playing kind of semi-pro ball in Artesia, New Mexico, and it was a forerunner to the NBA. And Artesia really couldn't afford to keep up with the Denver Bankers and Peoria Caterpillars and those teams. And so their board of directors decided to disband the team. And so all of a sudden he was without a job. I said, you know, Don, you know more about basketball than any other thing in the world. Why don't you see if you can get a coaching job somewhere? So that's how he started. When we came here, they had just completed the Memorial Gymnasium. And it was brand new, seated almost 5,000. It was gorgeous. We just were so excited we couldn't stand it. He coached the first teams that ever played there. Right away, they discovered that the gym wasn't big enough because people were just cramming into it. And they even had an auxiliary gym. They opened up with a TV in there for the people who couldn't get seats in Memorial Gym. So people embraced us, yes, from the very beginning. Early on, of course, I didn't have the vaguest idea he'd ever be in the Hall of Fame early on in his career. I thought it was well-deserved, well-deserved.
One of the things that made me feel real good, they said, Coach, we're glad you got in. We're tired of getting letters from El Paso.
Eddie Mullins had been campaigning for Don to be inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame. And it finally came about in 1997. And of course, we were just overjoyed. We'd been, I think they had maybe turned him down once or twice. But Eddie, who was our sports information director at UTEP, wouldn't give up. He got letters even from Governor Bush, and compiled all this information and wrote about Don's credentials, and finally they did induct him into. I mean, they did elect him. So when we went up there, it was such a thrilling, wonderful thing. There were about 1,800 people. Don made a good acceptance speech and, of course, made people laugh because he's kind of funny.
I know now what a cat feels like. This is where he gets ran over.
It was a thrill in a lifetime.